So
Or how about the
Joe.
way-
Oh, sorry. Joe's here, and Joe has some thoughts on. I'm sure on the final experiment, which I'd like to hear. And I already know Joe's take on Antarctica, but my whole audience might not be familiar. So why don't we give Joe the floor a minute to give a little bit of his ideas? And Joe is another Nana killing, science denying, reality shifting motherfucker.
Okay, well, first of all, regarding Antarctica, I really believe that Antarctica does not exist. I think it's one of the biggest tricks they played on us. And the one thing that I'm learning that people have a hard time wrapping their minds around, and including me, because it took me years to really start thinking about it, to think if Antarctica is fake, one of their psyops, that means, you have to ask yourself, what is there if Antarctica's not there?
That's a good
And I say sensibly, it's just the same thing that's north of the 60th is what's south of the 60th. Just land and water, oceans and continents. And I believe it goes on forever. There's no ice walls and there's no Antarctica. And there might be an island down near Cape Horn or the Cape of Good Hope. There might be islands down there the size of the continental US. And that's where they take people and trick them into thinking they're in Antarctica. But there's no way that God made this great, big, ugly, donut-shaped continent to use as the basin for Earth. And ice can't exist next to water, people. It melts. So there's no ice walls and there's no Antarctica. The Antarctica does not exist. It's simply not there.
Okay, well, let me
The
ask.
Earth is provably flat and probably infinite.
I believe it's infinite too as well, Joe. But I will say that for the most part, I do believe there is an outer ice ring. But let me ask you though, because you can find literally hundreds of pictures of this giant concave ice wall, and whatever it is and you can look at all kinds of different angles from all different kinds of altitudes. So somewhere there is an enormous concave ice wall. What do you think that is if it's not Antarctica?
What are those things called? The White Cliffs of Dover?
Yeah.
They look like fucking same thing. And by the way, the ice, you know what else looks like the ice wall? The 1978 Superman movie. It's just another special effects thing. It's just another big fat lie.
So what do you,
Joe, what do you make of, like, okay, so they say Antarctica wasn't discovered. I just saw a thing recently on Facebook too. It was funny as shit. It said Antarctica was discovered in 1820. And I was like, isn't that crazy that it's on the 1587 Urbano Monte map? But on the Urbano Monte map, we have depictions of coastline on the backside, like you were saying, big islands or even continents, and flora and fauna in many of these places, actually indicating different rulers that had possession of those very lands too. So that's something to look at.
In that map, it's unfrozen.
Yeah.
And
Okay. I want to point out that there's also mermen and cyclops on that map, and we have to stay reasonable, you guys.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm going to just add to that, Joe. I'm going to add to that because right in Patagonia, there's an area that there's some very large figures depicted, and it's in South America, and it's called Región de Gigante. It's also was known and as by Captain Cook as Patagonia, where he actually encountered these people that were like 9 and 10 feet tall and shit. So that's what I'm going to say is when people made maps, okay, especially in those days, and this was a collaborative effort. All the cartographers are listed on there. All the people whose information was on there. If you start putting shit just willy-nilly on a map that's not really there, and somebody goes and checks and they find out you're full of shit, your head's going to go on a spike. These maps were commissioned and paid for by very, very wealthy people that were interested in not only conquest, but trade routes and all kinds of things. So it didn't behoove you. Now, some of those things they do, they have like around the Tropic of Capricorn, they have a depiction of Capricorn and some other things like that. However, we do see that there is, some kind of strange things seen, like especially around in South America they depict a giant bird actually carrying a pachyderm. And we have legends and actually people who have seen these gargantuan freaking birds in South America.
David, with all these creatures on this map, it doesn't make the map more credible.
I'm just saying it doesn't discredit it though either.
I think it does. I think we have to stay reasonable. I'm a realist. I've never seen a cyclops. I've never seen a giant.
Nobody'd seen a kangaroo until they put people in Australia either.
Okay.
Now, do you know that the Aborigine in Australia refer to
let me address
south?
your other points, Dave, because you made a point about Captain Cook that I want to address.
Yeah.
Captain Cook is just another fictional character that they put in the history books. Do you know, and you mentioned the discovery of Antarctica was in the early 1800s.
That's what they say.
But according to the narrative, it was first spotted. It was sighted in the 1770s, which is perfect. The most shill decade ever. And guess who spotted it?
The most shill decade ever. I love it.
And guess who spotted it in the 1770s? Captain Cook. So Captain Cook discovered this joint. He saw it, but they didn't land the boat. They went back and told everyone, we saw this land. So he discovered it. But he's just another shill character in history.
I do have trouble trusting the characters. I do have trouble trusting the characters and the maps, but I fucking really don't know what's going on. That's my point.
I want to address the Urbano map. The Urbano map, you guys, the Urbano map was presented to the human race in the year 2017. Look at the history of the Urbano map.
Oh, really?
It was not presented to the human race until the year 2017.
How do you make that determination? Like by Google Trends and whatnot, or like how do you know that
one here.
The official story, the narrative talks about how it
wasn't put together
before 2017. It was never together. It was like ribbons of information. That's what they tell us about the pictures of the globe Earth.
Wow, interesting. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Dan, go ahead, Dan.
They put all the pages together. They put all the pages together finally in 2017, but it was like it put together like an atlas.
Well, why would it take them so long? If it was made in the 1500s, why would it take them so long to put the pages together?
I don't know.
It's a fake, you guys.
Okay.
It's a fake. And just look at it. It looks like drawings that middle school students made and pencil.
Yeah. I agree with that part of it. I just, I don't know. But Dan, you were trying to chime in. Let's hear from Dan for a few.
I was just going to say I have an old version of an old map in the back of my book. I was just going to look at it real quick. But as far as I know, Joe might be totally correct. So let's see here.
Got an old Mandela affected flat Earth map to look at?
Yeah, it's
yeah, basically, because that's what they all are.
The natives of Australia are called Aborigines, which is a strange word because it means not original. And they refer to the direction south in their language as home. I just find that kind of interesting too.
Wow.
Yeah, this map here is not the Urbano.
Migrated or whatever, or some cataclysm. Who knows? Maybe it was like the Urbano Monte map, but some kind of cataclysm has broken shit off in Australia. There again, a place that nobody had seen any of these kinds of weird animals until people went there. And they went, holy crap, look at these marsupials and kangaroos and all these crazy creatures that don't live anywhere else.
Let's get into some serious speculation. All right, because this is definitely going to be speculation. But I don't know if the Earth is infinite or not, but I do think that there is more land we don't know about. So